Okay, this is the electric meter main service panel. It's on the front exterior of the home. Power coming to the home is above grade. This cable, this series of cables coming through here, is called your service drop. And they're not supposed to be in the trees like they are. This is your weather mask, weather head, okay, call it what you will, but it's supposed to be 3 feet above the roof covering, which it doesn't look like we have that either, okay. The meter itself should be sealed on 3 sides, the sides and the top, to prevent moisture from getting into the structure. The same thing with the service panel, load center, breaker box, call it what you will, should be sealed on 3 sides, the top and the sides. Okay. I'm supposing that this is your ground wire. Looks like they bootlegged off of it for the satellite dish, which isn't probably the best route going, but talk to the cable guys here. So this is your main cable going into the ground somewhere. We have one single ground. See if we can verify that in here anywhere. And I'm just having some difficulty tracing that down. It looks like it just comes right off of the meter. Right off of the meter. That's kind of an interesting arrangement, but that's what we have today. This panel, you'll notice we got GE breakers, and then we've got, what type are these breakers? Those don't look like GEs to me. What are these? Okay, well, maybe they are. I can't tell that they're not. So that kind of leaves me with that. But we got other stuff like all these dead bugs inside of here. That's combustible. Those are they've turned into carbon and cellulose. All right. We've got L1 and L2 coming into the house. These should be covered in rubber and neoprene boots to keep. If you don't know that's hot, you don't belong in the cabinet. I get that. You don't belong in the cabinet. But they should have neoprene covers on them. This is the main neutral coming into the house. Alright? It's supposed to be wrapped with white tape. And if you don't know that's the main neutral, again, you don't belong in this cabinet. Let's see what we got going here. We got a rating on this thing. 125 amps. 125 amps. Okay, code says that the minimum for a residential structure is 100 amps. So this is 125. But most municipalities in this part of the state, they now require 150. So, you know, if it's good enough for Richardson, then it's good enough for Farmersville. So, you know, it's my opinion that this cabinet is undersized. It's undersized. And we got some other clues here. One circuit, one screw. One circuit, one screw. All right? No, not 2 circuits, 1 screw. That's called double lugging. Some people call it double tapping. Call it what you will. That's double lug. That's double lug. Wait a minute. See these breakers right here? They're rated for it. This breaker right here is not rated for it. With all the corrosion on it. I wish I could see the yoke to better determine that. So at least one circuit breaker is double lugged in here. And then coming on along, see these neutrals right in there? They're not supposed to be double lugged. So we got neutrals that are double lugged, and at least one hot that's double lugged. And I want to get in there and see the yoke on that thing. I'm going to say they're double lugged. That yoke does not look like a double yoke to me. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, at least 3 breakers that are double lugged in this service panel. We've got some neutrals that are double lugged in this service panel. I think the service panel is undersized. It's definitely undersized if you're going around here and you're doing doubles. Okay. Then the breakers should have been labeled, not handwritten like that. They should be printed in the slots. We don't know which one of these is for the condensing unit for the air conditioning system, but we only have two 240 circuits in here. So, and they're both 30 amps, and the condensing unit is rated for 30 amps. So it's by default, we know that the condensing unit is properly fused, but only by default because it's not labeled. So what did we learn? We learned, oh, and we do not have a main disconnect. And some people say, well, you know, if you can de-energize the whole cabinet, the panel, the load center, if you can de-energize that with 6 throws or less, then that's considered a service disconnect. Today we want to see a main principle. But the fact is that you cannot de-energize the whole panel in 6 throws or less. So we do not have a disconnect by any definition. So what do we learn? We learned that our service drop is in the trees. We learned that our service mast is not high enough up off the roof. We learned that the electric meter should be sealed. We learned this. So we've got one single ground. We should have 2 grounds. We learned that the bonding location is not labeled inside of the cabinet. We learned that too. I didn't mention it earlier, but this is what we learned. We learned that L1 and L2 do not have protective neoprene boots, and the main neutral, the main common coming into the cabinet is not wrapped with white tape. We learned that we've got double lug circuit breakers. We learned that we got double lug neutrals. We learned that our labeling is hand labeled. And that's what we learned today. Not enough grounds.